Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. When we do, the phone number is 562-542-3261 or 562-LibDan1. They're not open yet, but that is the phone number when we do open them up. And when I do open them up, you'll see the little thing on the bottom part of the screen showing the phone number that you can call in. You can always join the conversation at liberaldanradio.com in the live chat, or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio as well. Best way to support the show, as always, is to remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so, share the stream with your friends, comment, share other videos that I've created as well, get the algorithms going, because Al Gore needs more rhythm. And if you want to support the show in other ways, there's multiple ways to do so. You can become a liberal Danimal or higher here on YouTube by paying for one of the options to be for membership. You can also gift membership to other people by super chat, super stickers. You can also go to Twitch if you have Amazon Prime. It doesn't cost you a dime to subscribe every month. You have to repeat it every month, but it is what it is. You also can gift other people subscriptions over there, as well as buying using bits over there as well. You can Venmo Liberal Dan, just do friends and family because you're not buying anything. You can do buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio for one-time support of the show, or you can be a patron, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way gets you there, and you can support the show that way as well. I'm on social media, Liberal Dan Radio, pretty much everywhere. LiberalDanRadio.com brings you to the YouTube channel. It's Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky, as everything else that you can think. I think it's also that way on Instagram as well, but I hardly ever use the Instagram. But you could also follow me over there. Shouts out to everyone in the chat already. We got Josh, Aaron, the Goddess Kimchi, CR, Steve from across the pond, Suzanne, Mad Mac, Progressively Independent, Jeff. So Jeff and Kimchi are the Spicy Twins, and Alton Gillespie, Janelle, Chucker John's in the house. Shout out to Chucker John. Remember to go subscribe to his channel as well. Jackie. Trying to see if I've missed anybody who's come in yet. If I have missed you, I apologize. I'm sure I'll get to you. I think Floyd I haven't mentioned yet. Thank you for joining, Floyd. Appreciate you. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining in the show. We are 4 years to the day after the insurrection that took place on the Capitol, and we'll be talking about a particular defendant. I have a lot of stuff that I pulled up that we can look at, watch, read, etc. Apparently I bored some people last time with a little bit of my hard dive into what Turo is what it's called, the Airbnb of car rentals, just because of the fact that I wanted to see, how it was interesting to me, at least, to see how they would be trying to offload as much risk to their owners of the vehicles. And I still haven't gotten an answer yet that I can see, at least, from Turo, that I posed the question to them after the show as to whether or not if somebody who is a vehicle owner hits the $750,000 maximum coverage that is covered by their insurance, and then somebody who is driving one of their vehicles does something like they did on New Year's Eve or New Year's morning here in New Orleans, what does that cover, and are they on the hook for it? Have not yet heard back from them. We will see. If they can't answer that question, then why would anybody ever want to be a, quote, host with them as well? But we're not going to talk too much about that. I might bring it back up again when I actually have an answer from them. But until then, we'll just continue going from right now. There's nothing really new on the attacks to really mention. I'm sure most media people have covered it. You do have the situation where an Amazon employee who was down here and who was injured. I think she was both hit by the vehicle and shot. So, but works for Amazon, needed it off to deal with her injuries, and Amazon was like, no, we're not giving you off. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? This is the problem with late-stage capitalism. This is the problem with capitalism altogether. Like, why do we have to have such, rules that make it, it's already bad enough that people feel like they can't call in sick to work when they have the flu. And as such, they come into work and put other people at risk and make other people get sick because they come into work with the flu. Now Amazon wants people to come into work who can't even walk or who have been shot. What's next? You can't call in dead? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Trucker John, the Turo CEO, sent out an updated TOS the other day. Ooh, that might be interesting to look into, but maybe we'll check that later, or maybe we'll cover that Wednesday then. I don't know, but I'll have to check it out and see. But we have other stuff we want to talk about today. Given we did start maybe a couple minutes late, we do have a good amount of viewers already. But I do have one thing from over the weekend that I didn't want to talk about before we get to the main subject. Was that a half somber event? I've talked about the individual that I know who was shot, Cox Communications employee down here in New Orleans. He was in an area of New Orleans called New Orleans East doing his job. Somebody came up, tried to rob his truck, and he was cooperating, but he still got shot in the gut anyway, and then ended up dying in the hospital. Apparently one of my friends and his friends was also at the hospital with him at the time. That was, terrifying and horrible. I was not able to go to the funeral the other day simply because of the fact that my back was killing me. I don't think I would have been able to make it. But how I knew him was basically through my karaoke friends. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. So the what was I going to say? Anyway, so we met AJ through friends of mine that do karaoke. So one of the things that a bunch of the people put together or whatever, some of the people decided that it would be good to hold a karaoke night in his honors. So we went and did some karaoke. Now the place that we do karaoke, is run by a particular person who goes to different bars over the course of the week, and he has some regulars, and some of his regulars include some very elderly folks. And one of these people, whenever I go, and sometimes even when I don't go, he will get up there and he will start singing this Al Jolson Mammy song. And like, it's 2025 now, dude. You don't need to be singing a song by Al Jolson about Mammy. Just, it's gross, it's racist, stop it. But hey, Kevin, good to see you. But the KJ lets him play it or whatever, lets him sing it. And even times when I haven't been there and one of my friends has been there, she would send me a screenshot of here's what's being played right now. Oh, look, he's singing the Mammy song again. I'm like, ugh, really? So I got there, and I got there before apparently he got there. I didn't see him yet. But I told the friends who were there at the time that if he didn't sing, or if he got up there and did sing the Mammy song yet again, that I don't care. I'm going to go put up Richard Cheese's version of My Neck, My Back. If you're familiar with the song My Neck, My Back, it's, filthy, dirty, gross, not gross, but it's not something that you want to play for people with gentle ears or whatever, people who don't want to hear sexual topics. But I don't want to hear the Mammy song, so guess what? I was going to put it up. I guess I tried to be a little bit nice, and basically said, look, this is the song I want to sing next, and then here's the song that I want to sing after it. I want to sing the My Neck, My Back song by Richard Cheese. However, if you make the call that it's too dirty for people to hear right now, even though it's getting towards 11 o'clock at night, if you feel it's too dirty, then please, you can go ahead and select this other song instead, which is Louis Armstrong, and I would have just killed it with my Louis Armstrong impression. I get up there, he calls my name with like 5 minutes left to go in the night. I get up there, no idea what his decision's gonna be, and he goes, all right, everybody, time to take some notes. And I was like, yes, because only of one of the two songs that you would have to take notes for would be the My Neck, My Back. So I sang it. It was epic. The elderly folks looked mortified, but oh well, don't sing racist crap, and I won't subject you to kinky, dirty stuff. So, whatevs. Yes, it is not safe for work, Trucker John. Otherwise, I might sing a little bit more of the song. I guess, my neck, my back, lick my... and then that goes on to, the stuff that is sung. But Richard Cheese basically takes popular songs and then sings them like a lounge singer. Like he does one Rage Against the Machine song, but he put it on his album that's called Lounge Against the Machine. He has a whole Star Wars themed album. He what else? He has a song that's like a cross between Enter Sandman by Metallica and Mr. Sandman from way back in the day. It's really well done. It's really well. He's a very entertaining guy. I went to see him in concert. It was great. But yeah, definitely not safe for work. Do not play it in company that you don't want to have hearing wordy dirds, so to speak. See, MJ Daniel, also a song called Broken Hearts Are for Assholes on the same album. Nice. And wait, hold on. I'm sitting there, we're talking about something dirty, and then all of a sudden Kimchi says, Jeff, we got a 4 inches, another inch coming now. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, you're talking about snow, I'm guessing. So Jeff Bezos is spending over $600 million on his wedding. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you are a freaking billionaire and you can, burn money and not worry about it. Anyway, one other thing from that night, from the karaoke night, is before I sang My Neck, My Back, I went ahead and I messaged my wife, because I knew the first two songs I wanted to sing. First two songs I wanted to sing were kind of my, some of my songs that I in my regular rotation, and they're good warm-up songs. There's Something by the Beatles, and then there's Weird Al's One More Minute. Both songs are in my range, and Something I think is one of my better songs that I do. One More Minute is also a better song that I think that I do, but it's also funny because it's not a Weird Al parody. It's one of his initial songs. Yes, Progressively Independent. I actually performed the song My Neck, My Back as my 4th song. All with the backup, and the way Richard Cheese sings the song is he has like some oldie time sounding backup female singers that he has backing him up, so he had to actually include that into karaoke. So it starts off with those voices, and it's like, this is just so epic, and yeah, it was great. But anyway, so Weird Al, One More Minute, and Something by the Beatles, which brings up another story. I'll get back to this one. There was one other time that I was at karaoke, and I had I never had karaoke with this person, but it was at a bar that I had like a gift card to or whatever, and some other friends were having an event there. So I'm like, all right, I'll go. I'll use my gift card and I'll do karaoke. And so I put up Something by the Beatles, and this person starts playing Hard Day's Night. And I'm like, well, I guess technically that is Something by the Beatles, but it wasn't the song that I wanted to sing. I still did okay with it, but it was kind of funny. I really would have rather done Something, but it was still kind of funny that they stuck me with Hard Day's Night, which is Something by the Beatles. But the third song, Kevin Anderson, I'd rather have 100,000 paper cuts on my face than spend one more minute with you. That's that song, yes. So, so it was a rap song from years ago. However, the next song, I messaged my wife first, who wasn't with me. She didn't come along with me because not a fan of some of the people who were going to be there. But I was like, would it be horrible of me because his mom was there? The reason I know him is because his mom would often go to karaoke, and he also would join sometimes, and that's how I got to know him. And I messaged my wife, and I'm like, would it be horrible if I put up Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton? And she just sends me a couple of laugh emojis because me and her have horrible senses of humor, and I was like, yeah, what a song to sing without asking. It's around the mother who just lost her child, who was a great guy and I appreciate it, whatever. And without asking. So of course, I might have a horrible sense of humor, but I'm also not a shitty guy, or I try not to be a shitty guy. So I said, look, I'm going to put up this song if you want me to. If you don't want me to, I'll rip it up right now and I won't sing it tonight. But if you're okay with me singing it, and I'm fine with not singing it. I'm fine with not singing Tears in Heaven. But if you think it would be a good tribute to Adam, to AJ, I will sing it because you think it's a good tribute, not because I want to sing a sad song that will make people cry. She's like, no, I think you should sing it. So I'm like, okay. So I sung it. It was the first time I ever sung the song, so I had no idea how I would do with it or not. And apparently I did all right. And then one of my friends left like kind of halfway in the middle during an instrumental part, and she gave me a hug, and that almost made me lose it. Like, I almost started crying. And then I finished the song, give the microphone back to the KJ, go back to where everyone was sitting, see Shayna, my friend, who's one who lost her son, like wiping her tears away. That almost got me going yet again. And I just went over and gave her a big hug. And, that was the end of it. But I now at least know something that I could do in karaoke, that another song that's in my range, even though I'm not a huge fan of Eric Clapton, simply because of the fact that, he's a big anti-vaxxer MAGA type. So, yeah, screw Eric Clapton, but I did the song. I did the song. But again, I told my wife, I was like, I did it. She cried. I almost cried, but I asked permission first. So, to Alton, I heard Tears in Heaven once at a funeral for a 16-year-old killed on a new motorcycle, ruined forever. Yeah, I mean, that would, yeah, it's just, you lose a child and you play that song, and yeah, it's either a dick move if you don't ask, but I think she was touched by it, the fact that I asked, and that I was basically doing it in his honor and not necessarily just to make people cry. Although I have been known to, I got up when my grandfather died, and I got up and I gave a speech at his funeral. And I was like, look, can I give something? Can I say something? My uncle was like, the rabbi kind of wants to keep speeches short, but let me see what you got. I showed him what I got, and he was like, yes, you can say this. This is perfect. So I read it. Before I got up, I was about to get up and go give my little speech on the altar or whatever. And I looked at Cassie as I'm getting up. I'm like, get ready for people to start crying, because I knew people were going to start crying. I thought I was going to be one of those people who started crying in the middle, but I managed to hold it together during that part. But yeah, so probably because I threw a little joke in the middle, just kind of lightened the mood, and just because that's my family is, we joke. And of course, as I've talked before on this podcast, and I was actually hanging out with somebody else, several of the people who were there were also Jewish, and we basically were like, look, Jewish people, we sometimes make terrible jokes. Why? Because it's gallows humor, and if we didn't use gallows humor, we would have never survived. So there's that. Josh, I kind of like the idea of walking into a random bar with Dan singing karaoke. Hey, look, if there's enough people that ever come down to New Orleans at any given time who are members of the show or members of the audience, if we all want to do kind of a thing together, because it's New Orleans and New Orleans is an awesome city, screw the terrorists who want to try and ruin it. New Orleans is an awesome city. We'll definitely be doing karaoke as a group. I definitely want to do karaoke with more people. And definitely would love to be able to do it with y'all if y'all ever come down. Even if one of y'all come down to New Orleans, if you want to hang out and do karaoke, I would love to have you join me for it. So, but yeah, it's a big hook. Cats in the Cradle is one of my favorites. That's actually one I wrote a parody to, because it was a Hanukkah parody, and my version was Mr. Katz spins his dreidel, and it I'm really proud of it. And what makes me the most proud is one of my friends was like, when I saw that you did that and I listened to it, he was like, that's Weird Al quality. I'm like, I'll take it. I will take it. Anyone who wants to say that a parody of mine is a Weird Al quality type of parody, I am absolutely more than happy to take that compliment 100% of the time. Yes. So, Suzanne, yes, thank you for reminding people to smash that like button. I don't know exactly. I'm not seeing the amount of likes currently. Maybe I just have the wrong screen up. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But yes, and it might even be more than that because some people might have come in, liked, and left, or what have you. But yes, absolutely high praise. It's on my Nerdy Dan. I think it's on my Nerdy Dan one. It could be on my personal one, though. I don't know. It's on one of my... I think it's on my parody. If I have a parodies playlist, it's on that. And I linked to it from there. But yeah. That was like an idea I had in forever. Like, I was like, I need to write this parody because it's Mr. Cat Spins His Dreidel. And then we had one Hanukkah. We were doing like a Hanukkah-themed party at karaoke. And my friend Melissa was like, you want to write parodies for whatever whenever it was coming up? And I was like, sure, I already have an idea. Let's do it. And we did. So Ugly Kid Joe, I think Ugly Kid Joe is weird just in general, but I mean I do like them anyway. Was it I Hate Everything About You? I've done that one in karaoke as well. So, and I get sick when I'm around. I can't stand to be around. I hate everything about you. Anyway, so I should still probably hold off and be like, no singing unless we get lots of super chats again, like we did when I sang "Oh Holy Night." And that actually story came up that I told the other day that came up Saturday night as well, because with all the people trying to sing "Joy to the World" by Three Dog Night, and the karaoke machine pulls up "Joy to the World," the Christmas version, and we're like, no. So instead of singing "Joy to the World," we had a bunch of Jewish people sitting around singing "Springtime for Hitler" in Germany from the producers. So that Naked Gun scene where Frank Drebin gives his speech and then he is told that the crowd is here for Weird Al. Well, clearly, why wouldn't you be there for Weird Al? I actually have tickets for Weird Al in July down here in Louisiana, so yay for that. Let's see. My friend Until I Die by the Beach Boys played during his funeral. I chuckled. I knew he would do that, and I would have been pissed at him if he didn't. Obviously, we were that close. Nice. I'm sure I would have requests if when that happens, if I put up like terrible requests. Like, my terrible request would probably be play Daniel by Elton John. Like, I can see Daniel waving goodbye. Like, that was terrible, I know, but yeah, that would definitely make a whole bunch of people just cry, and that would be my parting shot as I went away, as I went off into the sunset. To MJ Daniel, first time I heard Weird Al, it was just him and his accordion on Dr. Demento. Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much known him almost for the entirety of his career, known of him because I remember hearing My Bologna as a kid. And that was just great. And one of the questions I think if I ever got the opportunity to just interview Weird Al would be, because now he asks permission, and forever he's been asking permission of the people whose songs he writes parodies for. But I'm wondering when he started that. Like, did he stop? Like, I'm probably would guess that he didn't do that for My Bologna, or maybe he did. I don't know, but you never know. That's why I would love to ask him. I'd also love to ask him if he can sing a song in the car that he parodied, but sing the real version of the song, or does he ever slip, or does he go into his parodies just because of muscle memory? So, Eric Idle, always look on the bright side of life, is a funeral favorite. Yeah, I'm gonna start making a playlist. If I die, play Daniel by Elton John. Always look on the bright side of life. Anyway, so yeah, I have to think of this is my terrible funeral song playlist. Please play this at my funeral, or else nobody gets your inheritance. What inheritance? I don't know. The big liberal Dan bucks. The big, every $100 every couple months at this point. But anyway, I still have fun doing this, so we're all good. We're not complaining. We want this to just grow and be bigger and better and have lots more awesome subscribers and chatters like yourselves. I'm all about quality over quantity. So anyway, I haven't thought of my funeral playlist list. Let's just try and catch up any other comments I might have missed. But let's see, Weird Al was severely unappreciated. Yes, he was. But I mean, he has gotten more mainstream. But yeah, I mean, I'm an OG Weird Al fan, like way back in the day. So anyway, see 70s prog rock opuses every 20 minutes, every tune 20 minutes, funeral a day long. Don't make plans. Well, that's true. I mean, I do like Rush, and I do like Yes. I mean, I'm not less. What's the other one? What's the other really what Dream Theater? I've never gotten into Dream Theater, but I do like Rush and Yes. So prog rock is my jam, or part of my jam, so to speak. I have a very eclectic shape. I mean, I was talking about it today. I went to Cider today before I came on the podcast because it's January 6th, which is 12th night, which is Epiphany Day, which is the first day you're supposed to eat king cakes. And they had one gluten-free person selling king cakes because Cassius has celiac, so she can't have anything other than gluten-free king cakes. So we went over there, grabbed a cider, got the king cake, and there you go. But I was telling him, I was like, I had a really eclectic choice of music in, you know, the songs that I sung in karaoke. I mean, you had Richard Cheese, Eric Clapton, Weird Al, and the Beatles. Although the funny thing, I guess, would be the Beatles song was George Harrison singing, you know, something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. And then, you know, so he might have not wanted another lover, but George Harrison's wife ended up marrying Eric, or ended up with Eric Clapton. So maybe she did need another lover. Who knows? I think Rush might very well have been my second or my third concert when I was like 14. Very close to your age. It was the Roll the Bones tour, the first Rush concert that I ever went to, and I've been to Rush a lot more since then. But I've actually probably seen at this point the Goo Goo Dolls more often than Rush because that's my wife's favorite band, and Rush stopped touring, and Goo Goo Dolls have not. So, and a wife swap. Was that a joke? Let's see. This is no joke. I told my kids they decide what shirt I wear in the casket. Either what are you looking at or who farted. Nice. Permanent Waves Tour 38 Special Open. That's pretty nice. I saw 38 Special at Epcot during their Eat to the Beat concert. So it was good, but you know, it's kind of on their waning, I guess, the waning portion of their career, so to speak. But no, I mean, Tom Sawyer Live is excellent. Dreamline Live is excellent. Although they stopped playing Dreamline Live, and that made me annoyed, but it is what it is. You have so many songs in their repertoire that it's kind of hard to fit all of the ones that I might like into a concert. So, and then one time, like we went to Disney one year, and I saw that Rush was going to be in Tampa the day before, so we left early, went to Tampa, saw the Rush concert, drove into Orlando and had our Disney trip. And then it turned out that because at that point they weren't planning on coming to New Orleans, but then they announced the second leg of the tour, and they came to New Orleans. I was like, oh good, I get to see him twice now. Yay. So, Benny, I hope everyone is making their funeral arrangements because we were fucked. Very well, possibly, yes. I mean, it might be a good idea. Get all of your affairs in order. Of course, if he gets us all completely screwed, there won't be any need for any funerals because we'll all be just cinders and ashes. Speaking of cinders and ashes, I heard the person who created Thomas the Tank Engine died the other day too. So anyway, usually don't go a full half hour for the show intro and talking about stuff. Usually we save most of the stuff at the end, but yeah, I can't help it. Big Hook wrote Subdivisions, and I can't read it without hearing Subdivisions, just because that's how they say it in the song. But yeah, I've not done Rush in karaoke. I would love to be able to find a Rush song that I could do in karaoke, but Geddy Lee's voice is way too high. Hal could do it. I know Hal Sparks could. I've heard Hal Sparks sing some Rush songs on his live sometime, and I know he can hit the notes. I can't hit, even though I could hit some high notes, I can't hit Geddy Lee high notes. It's just not possible. So, but thank you, Benny, for stopping by. and joining us and everything. We have 36 viewers. That's actually pretty good for a show, because everyone's coming back from vacay and everything. Anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? So first, let's do the short part first. As I said on Wednesday, basically, I said on Wednesday that we now have somebody who is, we will, by the show today, we will have somebody who was absolutely not qualified and ineligible to be president of the United States, certified by the United States Congress. Why? Because the people who were elected to Congress do not have a spine. The people who were elected to Congress could very well have said Donald Trump took an oath to the Constitution to uphold and protect the Constitution. He took an oath, and he made lots of promises. Of course, he never was going to keep them, but he took this oath, and then he aided and abetted and gave comfort to domestic terrorists and encouraged them to go storm the Capitol, in not so many words. But in other words, different words, but the words they heard when he spoke was go storm the Capitol. Go stop them from certifying the election. Well, Congress has the authority to question the veracity or the integrity of the Electoral College votes, including questioning whether or not somebody is eligible to be president of the United States or serve in any elected office, but especially with the Electoral College votes. And the Supreme Court even said that the power of the Constitution rests that power in Congress. So Congress was derelict in their duty today, because they had the duty to say, no, these electoral counts don't count, these electoral votes don't count, because he's not qualified to be president of the United States. Period, end of story. But again, no spine. So now we have a 34-time convicted felon found civilly liable for sexual abuse, and now insurrectionist president taking office in 2 weeks. T minus 14 days and counting. Let's see, Chucker John, I liked Howe's reasoning on the 14th Amendment thing. He made sense to me, or it made sense to me. Missed what Howe said on that one. Is there a too long didn't read or too long didn't watch version you can put up there that summarizes it that I can go through it? I'll be happy to go through it. But Stephen, who controls Congress? Well, at this point, Donald Trump does. Donald Trump controls Congress. Donald Trump controls the Supreme Court. Donald Trump will control the presidency in just less than 14 days, because it's not 14 full days anymore. Because at noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central here in this country, we will have somebody take an oath of office that is not only ineligible to take the oath of office, but he'll be lying up there as well. I agree with you, Nick, that the 14th Amendment does not leave any loopholes. And no. And it should be self-actuating. It should be self-fulfilling. It should be, there's nothing that you need to do. Again, just as I said on Wednesday, the requirement that you can't be elected president after having served 2 terms is not something that is in question or in doubt. Either you served 2 terms and you can't run anymore, or you haven't served 2 terms and you can run. Simple as that. There's nothing that anybody else needs to do. So if Electoral College voters voted for Donald Trump, like for a 3rd term in 2026 or 2028 or whatever, if they voted for Donald Trump again, they said, we're going to vote for Trump, not for whoever we were selected to vote for, or if states decided that they were going to put Donald Trump's Electoral College votes up because they didn't care, it wouldn't matter, because the votes couldn't count because he's not eligible. Just as he's not eligible to be president because he's an insurrectionist, traitor, whatever. So Dean, when's Donnie's coronation? I mean, the inauguration is on Martin Luther King Day, January 20th, as always. At least as always after they changed it from April to January, because it used to be April because long distance to travel on horse and carriage. But once they made it faster to get from people's districts to Washington, D.C., they moved it up to January instead. Let's see, Trucker John. Basically, if a state court ruled that someone is an insurrectionist, that could be used to disqualify, then any state could make a ruling and block every Democrat running. I mean, that's what the Supreme Court said in sort of. That's what the Supreme Court sort of said, that the states wouldn't have the authority to deny it. But that's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that Congress, the people sitting in Congress who certified the Electoral College votes today, absolutely had the authority, according to the Supreme Court ruling, in Trump versus Anderson, to say, you're not qualified to be president because you participated in an insurrection against this country, and as such, you're disqualified because of the 14th Amendment. The states can't do it, but the Supreme Court said Congress can. So that's my point. So it's not exactly the same thing, I guess maybe that Hal was talking about. Anyway, so main topic of the show today, again, is 4 years ago, we had an insurrection. We had people storming the Capitol at Donald Trump's behest. There's videos out the yin-yang showing lines and lines of people pushing against barricades, trying to break down barricades, attacking cops, grabbing their weapons, hitting the cops with their own weapons, with their own shields, with their own batons, everything, breaking doors, breaking windows, climbing in things, jumping through windows, getting shot while jumping through windows. Terrorist Barbie, thank you very much. And basically trespassing, going into offices, stealing a laptop, stealing other paperwork, basically, trying to terrorize the country, trying to prevent or affect political change via their violent actions, which is the definition of terrorism, which has been used in this whole Luigi Mangione thing as to whether or not he should be tried for, quote, terrorism or not. I don't know if, as someone said earlier in the chat, I don't believe that it would be a non-jury trial if New York cites him with terrorism. I think New York is citing him with terrorism just to get him up to murder one and enable, I think, the death penalty or whatever, or at least to get them murder in the first degree. However, maybe federally, if you were tried for terrorism, you might get brought over to Gitmo or whatever. But I don't know. J6 riders would not be in jail if I were king. They would be in another place. What, Gitmo? And they were terrorists. That's where we put terrorists, right? We put terrorists in Gitmo. Why didn't we put the January 6th terrorists at Gitmo as well? That would have been justice, I think, for their actions and for all the people who, decried terrorism and had no problem with terrorists being put at Gitmo without due process. Well, look, shove these terrorists in Gitmo as well. But here's the thing. There's been a lot of people who have been complaining about how the January 6th so-called political prisoners were treated or have been treated. And one of the main people who they've talked about when it comes to these so-called political prisoners is Jake Lang. Jake Lang is somebody who will go over the charges of Jake Lang in a second, but we're going to kind of dig into Jake Lang. And we're going to see exactly what he's alleged of doing, what he's charged with, etc. And then we're going to go some other points, because a lot of the conservatives out there are trying to say that not just that he's a political prisoner, but it's how ridiculous it is that he's had to wait this long to get a trial. Well, that's by design, and not by design by the Justice Department. That's by design by Jake Lang himself. Why? Because Jake Lang felt that if he could just delay and delay and delay for a long enough amount of time, that he'd get Donald Trump to pardon him. And Donald Trump has since said in interviews, or even before he was elected president again, that pardoning people is on the table. He claims he'll look at it on a case-by-case basis. Will he? I don't know. I don't think he will. I think he'll have somebody write off a general drafted pardon and say, all of the people who are charged with insurrection and other crimes pertaining to January 6th are all pardoned. Boom, there you go, done. He'll do that. And once he does that, if it includes people like Jake Lang, he will then be just cementing his legacy as a treasonous individual, committing acts of treason against this country by aiding and abetting and giving comfort to domestic terrorists who attacked our country. Simple as that. Now, I have no problem. I'm not going to worry about... Thank you. Liberal Dan sings all the best karaoke songs. Thank you, Chucker John, for being a liberal Danimal for 4 months. Appreciate you. Anyway, so... yeah, he will just cement himself, his legacy, as being somebody who has committed acts of treason by supporting, aiding and abetting and giving comfort to domestic terrorists, enemies of our country. It's the textbook definition of treason. What else can you do? And if Congress then doesn't act, then again, it'll show that they're even more spineless. Again, I don't care, necessarily about if somebody was not one of the initial breachers of the doors or the windows, and all they did was walk around, and if they didn't steal anything, if they just sat in a chair in the middle of the hall of Congress, I'm not going to cry that much if that, such a person gets, his sentence commuted or pardoned or whatever. I mean, they shouldn't, because they were still participating with everybody else who was doing all the bullshit. But I'm not going to cry about it if the person was just kind of meandering around the halls. Now, but if the person is like Jake Lang, then yeah, absolutely. Labeled, tarred, feathered, etc. See, Floyd, won't happen for a decade. History will tell us the truth about DJT, if there's any history left to be had after Donald Trump is done with this country. So let's go ahead and switch to the alternate scene here, shall we? And we are going to read the indictment of Edward Lang, i.e. Edward Jacob Lang, i.e. Jake Lang, the defendant in this indictment. The grand jury charges that. So what I'm reading here, everything before was my opinion of Jake Lang, and I'm sure I'll be giving my opinion of Jake Lang more in the future of this podcast, of this episode of the podcast. But we're going to go through, we're going to read the indictment just to see what exactly it is that Jake Lang is charged with and why he absolutely should not be pardoned for his actions. So, on or about January 6, 2021, from about 4:10 to about 4:13 within the District of Columbia, Edward Jacob Lang committed an attempted to commit an act to obstruct, impede, or interfere with a law enforcement officer lawfully engaged in the lawful performance of his or her official duties and during the commission of civil disorder, and the civil disorder obstructed, delayed, and adversely affected the conduct and performance of a federally protected function. So that is a charge of civil disorder. Count 2, on or about January 6th, from about 4:10 to 4:13 within District of Columbia, Edward Jacob Lang did forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with an officer and employee of the United States and of any branch of the United States government, including members of the uniformed service, and any person assisting such an officer or employee while such a person was engaged in and on account of the performance of official duties. This is assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers in violation of Title 18, U.S. Code. Count 3. On or about January 6, 2021. I don't know why I have to say on or about. It was on January 6, 2021. Maybe that's just the legalese. From about 4:44 to 4:46 within the District of Columbia, Edward Jacob Lang committed and attempted to commit an act to obstruct, impede, interfere with law enforcement officer legally engaged in the lawful performance of his or her duties. Again, civil disorder. Count 4. Another count of assaulting, resisting, or impeding from about 444 to 446. Edward Jacob Land using deadly or dangerous weapon, that is a shield, did forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with an officer, an employee of the United States, and or any branch of the United States government, yada, yada, yada. Count 5, another count of civil disorder from 454 to 457. Count 6, another account of assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers using a dangerous weapon. On or about January 6th, from about 454 to 457 within the District of Columbia, Edward Jacob Lang, using a deadly or dangerous weapon, that is a bat, did forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with an officer, blah, 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 blah. Count 7, obstruction of an official proceeding and aiding and abetting. On January 6, 2021, Edward Jacob Lang attempted to and did corruptly obstruct, influence, and impede an official proceeding, that is a proceeding before Congress, by entering and remaining in the U.S. Capitol without authority and committing an act of civil disorder and engaging in disorderly and disruptive conduct and destroying federal property. Count 8, on or about January 6, 2021, Edward Jacob Lang did knowingly and with intent to impede and disrupt orderly conduct of government business and functions, engage in disorderly and disruptive conduct in and within such proximity to a restricted building and grounds, that is, any posted, cordoned off, or otherwise restricted area within the United States Capitol and its grounds where the Vice President and Vice President-elect were temporarily visiting, when and so that such contact did in fact impede and disrupt the orderly conduct of government business. So this was disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds with a dangerous or deadly weapon. Count 9, engaging in physical violence in a restricted building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon. On about January 6th, Edward Jacob Lang did knowingly engage in any act of physical violence against any person and property in a restricted building or grounds, that is, any posted or cordoned off otherwise restricted area, blah, 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 and carry a deadly and dangerous weapon, that is, a bat and shield. Count 10, on or about January 6th, Jacob Lang did willfully and knowingly engage in disorderly and disruptive conduct with intent to impede, blah, 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 disorderly conduct in a Capitol building. Count 11. Was that count 10? That was count 10. On or about January 6th, Edward Jacob Lang willfully, knowingly engaged in an act of physical violence within the U.S. Capitol grounds and any of the Capitol buildings, act of physical violence in the Capitol grounds building, a true bill for person. So there you go. Those are the charges that Jacob Lang was charged with. So there is a much longer document that we're not going to go into, but we'll kind of look, because there are pictures in this document, so we're not going to read the entire thing. But here's, for example, a picture of Lang posted on his, I guess, Instagram account, Real Jake Lang, captioning the photograph, 1776 has commenced. What does that mean? Declaration of Independence, anybody? Declaring independence from England, anybody? What happened in that? Start of the Revolutionary War. So that's him basically claiming that he's going to do an act that's akin to what our founders did in 1776. Here's a video again of Jacob Lang, which was posted to his Facebook page, an accompanying video showing him in a large crowd at the lower west entrance of the door. Another thing, I watched a woman die yesterday in front of my eyes. I saved 2 others from being trampled and suffocated by the Capitol Police, blah, blah, blah. Now, the idea that they were going to be suffocated and trampled by the Capitol Police is absurd. The amount of people who were there trying to stop the proceedings was far greater than the amount of police officers that were there. So if anybody was trying to trample anybody, it was the insurrectionist riot that was taking place. They murdered her and tried to murder many more. This is an act of war by tyrants against the American people. 4 American patriots died yesterday. I was shot with a lethal round in the foot. It shattered multiple places, stitches in my skull, deep cuts over my entire body for freedom, for liberty, and the defending American Constitution. Thank you, God, for the opportunity to help save your children from tyranny. This is only the beginning. It's only the beginning, everybody. So yeah. Maybe you shouldn't F around and you wouldn't have to find out. Another picture of, I was the leader of liberty today. Arrest me. You are on the wrong side of history. There you go. Another picture of him smiling at the Capitol. Pepper spray really does wonders for your complexion. He's bragging about it. Let's see, the video said, I ain't done yet. That caught my eye. There you go. I ain't done yet. It says, give me liberty or give me death. Here's this picture of him wielding the shield, I believe. Here's a picture of him just standing there with his little leather jacket with the other people. Story has the words, this is me, of that picture. Oh, there you go. This is me, pointing right here. That's him. Standing right there. Another one. This is me. And I guess that's him holding the shield up in the air, i.e. he took the police shield. He stole the police shield. Should have gotten charged with theft of an official's materials or whatever that crime would be. I guess maybe they ran out of paper. I don't know. A few of the photos, still shots from the videos included below. So here's one. I guess here's a police officer trying to defend himself and other people from the terrorist attack, terrorist mob. I guess here's a Lang, looks like, holding that shield. Here, I guess they are again with him holding that shield. Another one of him holding a police shield, from what it looks like at least. Him yelling at somebody, I don't know what he's doing right there, but him just being a general nuisance. See, blah, blah, blah. This is in addition to the actions in the videos described above, where various individuals near Lang repeatedly strike at law enforcement officers with weapons, as Lang is in the front with the shield. So here goes UF, unidentified female, stream on Instagram. The following was an excerpt of the conversation posted online. So what do you think happens next? Lang, guns. That's it. One word. The First Amendment didn't work. We pull out the second. We're all civilized people. We love going to work, praying to God, blah, 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 blah. That was every single person here. No one wants this to whatever, blah, blah, blah. But dying for our rights is the only option that any person with a logical brain sees right now. Yes, he is such a logical brain. So, and then it goes through all of the charges that he's charged with, and then signed by the judge and what have you. So there is examples, photo evidence of Jacob, or Edward Jacob Lang, and his shenanigans that he took place 4 years ago to the day. So Judge Mershon should lock up Donald until the 19th of January. That would be funny. But I don't think they're looking at jail time in that particular case, unfortunately. See if I might get some Brit t-shirts going. 1776, regretting it now, USA. There's like memes that went around with the previous queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Basically like saying, do you want to come back now, traitors, or something like that? I don't know. But anyway, so let's go back more into Edward Jacob Lang again. We go flip back to here to the alternate scene. Location of arrest. He was arrested in New York. Charges of civil disorder, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers using a dangerous weapon, obstruction of an official proceeding, aiding and abetting, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building on or grounds with a deadly dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, act of physical violence in the Capitol grounds or buildings. Arrested on 1/6/21, indicted 1/29/21, 1/16/2021, I should say. Initial appearance held 2/9/2021, pleaded not guilty to all counts. Of course, he said he was willing to do whatever he needed to do for liberty, to fight tyranny, but, you know, I guess he pleads guilty. I guess he didn't want to find out because he pled guilty, right? Status conference set for 9/15/21, 11 a.m. Defendant remains committed. But here's the thing. It's now 2025, January 6th, 2025. 4 years to the day he committed his alleged acts. And then 4 years minus 10 days since he was arrested for his actions at the Capitol on January 6th, for his actions on January 6th. So what else can we look at when it comes to Jacob Lang? Because again, this is not just somebody who was just there doing sightseeing. That was not just somebody who was there to show their support for their beloved president, Donald Trump, and just cheer him on and just peacefully protest outside, hoping that Congress would do something that they weren't allowed to do. So, or that Mike Pence specifically would do something that he wasn't allowed to do. But, again, conservatives have been using Jake Lang as an example of government overreach, as an example of abuses of power by the police, as an example of just, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that. But we're going to look at some more stuff before we go into some of the newer stuff, because there's some definitely interesting stuff to look at. Let's flip back here, because while looking for information for the show, I did find this one. The Political Prisoner podcast, hosted by Jake Lang. How, if you're going to be complaining about what happened to you and how you're being mistreated by the government, yet you can do a podcast from prison? January 6th, political prisoner, founder of the free speech social media platform LibertyCentric.com, Jake Lang hosts daily news podcast focused on topics of family and freedom, recorded live from Alexandria jail. So, dude gets to do a podcast from prison, but yet he's being treated unfairly. Who does he have on, I guess? Or who does he discuss in this podcast? Going all the way back to 2022, Prelude, Faith Talk. Jake discusses the impact on his relationship with God has had during his incarceration. He had on Ashley Babbitt's mom, terrorist Barbie. He had... Oh, this is funny. Let's put this on a second. Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics. We have played Jeff Crouere clips already, so we can listen to some of this crap.
A real frontline patriot brings you his one-of-a-kind perspective on freedom versus tyranny.
Oh, Jesus.
Be free in the spirit tonight when I go back in my cell and I get to pray with God. We've got a really amazing episode again for you. I have my close personal friend and fellow conservative podcaster and radio show host, Jeff Crouere, coming on today. He hosts a show called Ringside Politics on Real America's Voice. It is an amazing patriotic show that
it's so amazing that we make fun of it all the time.
All of
I'm just going to fast forward a bit just to hear some of the BS.
The people, that comes in. I resent that, and I think she has no business being our governor.
I mean, it's ridiculous that, he's complaining about maltreatment. How many prisoners get to do podcasts from prison? From jail? What the hell?
On top of that, here's another headline from Kickback Kathy, as people call Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul. So this is very peculiar and corrupt. She awarded a $60
I don't want to hear him talking to Jeff.
To protect yourself via the Second Amendment from these, he's the
Let's see.
$1,000 guard dog, $40,000 guard dog. It's a special breed or something ridiculous like that. And he's saying it's to protect him from white supremacy. I mean, can you get a load of this guy? He says, quote, "Before you talk about how I should defend myself with guns, New York City won't even allow me to have a gun, and New Jersey doesn't have stand your ground laws and hardly allows you to even own guns," end quote. So even he can recognize that for January 6th, instead of continuing to work for this man for over 2 months, well, I think a politically biased judge in D.C., he was given an unfair shake at his jury trial because all of D.C.
blah, blah, blah.
That was usurped by wicked tyrants. These are wicked
tyrants, huh? We're just going to keep fast-forwarding a bit just to try and find him talking to Jeff.
Scarring of their heart and their mind and their body and their soul all together. And the Bible warns us about
the Bible. It's quoting the Bible again.
Sins against God, but they're also sins against ourselves. They're one of the sins that change them and heal them. And
battered by the events of recent years, and it really it has to end. We can't have a
man of God and a strong patriot, and we're unified in our fight against tyranny and a fight to expose the truth that sets men free
Would
always and everywhere.
would Jeff Carrera be considered a treasonous as well because he's aiding, abetting, and giving aid and comfort to Jake Lang, a domestic terrorist
Across this country. So just going over some headlines with the audience, and I want to get your take on a couple things, but first we're going to talk about September 24th, the big day back in D.C., January 6th Solidarity Rally, where you are speaking. Tell me, brother, what's on your mind? What are you really looking to tell the people there in D.C. about January 6th and about this two-tier justice system in America?
Yeah, well, what I'm going to say is it has to end. We can't have a two-tier justice system.
We have a two-tier justice system because, there's no black people who are getting to do podcasts from prison that I'm aware of. Yet here's a white dude who's a domestic terrorist, who's getting to do a podcast from prison while complaining that he's being maltreated in prison. Meanwhile, his hero, Donald Trump, is going to get away with committing 34 felonies without getting punished at all for it because we have a two-tier system of justice. They're right. We have a two-tier system of justice. We have a multi-tiered system of justice, but not in the way that they think we have.
We can't have a Department of Justice that goes after one group of people because of their beliefs.
Oh, wait till this next upcoming term comes up and sees who Donald Trump goes after, and I'll see if Jeff Carrera is singing the same tune.
We have to restore faith in our government again, faith in our important institutions. And when I was growing up,
he wants to dismantle the institutions. He's not going to have faith. There's nothing. We won't have anything to have faith in because he wants to dismantle everything.
I used to look up to people that were serving in the Department of Justice and the FBI, and unfortunately, all of that has been shattered by...
Because Blue Lives Matter until Blue Lives stop going after Black lives and start actually dealing with white criminals. And at that point, they don't think Blue Lives Matter anymore. At that point, they're going to pick up a shield and start, bashing them over the head and threatening them with a bat and this, that, the other. But yeah,
the events of recent years. And it really, of course, January 6th was horrible, but, the abuse really went on for years before that. And
what?
I was involved in the Tea Party movement, Jake, and, the IRS was...
Yeah, exactly. Say how we elected a felon rapist president. We have to say that he was a sexual abuser, not a rapist. Because if you call him a rapist, he'll come after you and sue you for slander or libel or whatever it is. But if you call him a sexual abuser, that's somehow better? I don't know. He seems to think it's somehow better. I don't see any big moral difference between the two. Yes, Jeff, before he was MAGA, he was a big old member of the Tea Party down here in Louisiana, holding Tea Party rallies and stuff like that. Like when I actually had a terrestrial radio type show, I did go out and interview people at his rallies and try and get, video and audio of these people saying all of their uninformed BS.
Weaponized to come after us. And then, of course, Donald Trump had one abusive event after another where they just used the power of the government to go after Donald Trump and his supporters. And it just sort of culminated on January 6th when you had patriots from all...
Patriots. You're not a patriot if you attack police officers invading the Capitol. That's not patriotism. Hell, you wouldn't call the people who were acting in the Revolutionary War to have their independence from England. They wouldn't be British patriots, would they? No, they weren't. They rebelled against the British. They weren't British patriots. These people rebelled against the American government. They're not American patriots. Simple as that.
All across America, coming together.
Dean Baker, Trump lied to God's face. Well, Trump's going to lie to him again in 2 weeks from now. We're not going to watch it. We're not going to play it, but we're going to still be streaming during it to give you something else to watch.
To protest a stolen election.
Stolen election, yet this one.
To rally for America, for our country. And
they gave no shits when the stolen election was in 2000, and it was Al Gore who had the election stolen from him because of corrupt Republicans in Florida and a corrupt Supreme Court that just awarded a president a presidency that he shouldn't have had. They didn't care about it then because they won then. Of course, nowadays, Jeff Carrera and people like him will bemoan George W. Bush and say that he's not a real conservative and blah, blah, blah. But way back in the day, they loved him. They absolutely loved him.
Let our voices be heard. And it was not to destroy, not to in any way harm, not to bring about any kind of violence.
Not to harm, but yet they committed harm. Not to harm, but they committed acts of violence. Here's the thing. Like Mike Johnson and everybody else, conservatives want to release the tapes. Well, why hasn't Mike Johnson released the tapes yet that he said that he was going to release? That Tucker Carlson claimed to have watched. Why have those tapes not been released yet? I'll tell you why those tapes have not been released yet. It's because they know that if you actually watch the tapes, if you see the tapes and see the people in action, you will absolutely see that these people were the ones committing acts of violence first. And it was the police who was trying to defend themselves and others against these domestic terrorists. I mean, we looked at some of the video from the January 6th, commission or whatever, the committee. We watched some of it when they were coming from Peace Circle and were like 15 rows deep or more trying to push down the barricades that were barring their entrance to the U.S. Capitol in the first place. You saw people bashing a police officer's head in a door. That police officer was screaming in pain because of what was going on with him. Yet they weren't there. They weren't there to do violence. F that. Jacob Lang says in his thing. Edward Jacob Lang says in his thing that he was, the next solution on the Instagram video was guns. Use of guns was the next thing. You telling me you're not? You're telling me you're non-violent, but yet his first line of his mouth is, "Well, this didn't work, so guns is next." What? No, completely ill-informed. But again, Jeff Carrera is one of the people who's calling him a political prisoner, who's calling Jake Lang, bemoaning the fact that the federal government has kept him in jail for 4 years. Meanwhile, it's Lang himself who's been pushing for delay, because he doesn't want to actually be convicted before Trump pardons him.
But it was because of love of their country, love of America. And, the fact that this whole thing has been perverted by the media and the Democrats into some kind of insurrection, I think is an incredible injustice. We've seen so many injustices. So I'm going to be speaking on what I think is the importance of restoring our institutions, restoring faith and hope in our country.
These people all need to go into institutions.
And, moving toward a country where we can have faith in our elections and our institutions and, once again, not go after people because of their political beliefs. That's not...
There are going to be no institutions. Kash Patel wants to get rid of the FBI and Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education and all this other BS that Project 2025 wants to dismantle. They want to send education back to the states. Yes, let's give the people who think that it's a good idea to teach the 10 Commandments in school more control over what happens in the classroom. That's not good. Let us continue.
What the founders created in this great country. That's what you see in banana republics, in tyrannical dictatorships, and in communist regimes.
And remember, Donald Trump hadn't said this yet, but he wants to be dictator on day one. So will Jeff Carrera complain when Donald Trump becomes a dictator? Or will he hypocritically be like, well, it's fine because it's Trump. Anyone else, it would be bad. But it's fine because it's Trump.
That is not the United States of America. So we're really...
Does Dan know they can't hear him? What are you talking about, Benny? I'm doing a response video. I'm responding to what this audio is.
Coming together to show our support, our love for our country.
Yeah, we appreciate that support as political prisoners who are at the rightful end, the bad end of this tyranny and this splitting of our justice system, our social media sites, everything, our media, everything is two-tiered nowadays. There's such a ridiculous split, and you see that
Let's
too.
fast forward a little
You
longer.
know, locked in a gulag. And
Today, who's the litigation counsel for the New Civil Liberties Alliance, they're joining with my Attorney General, Jeff Landry, the Attorney General of Missouri, to try to uncover all the different attempts by all these different government agencies to suppress social media to keep the truth from being told trial for another.
Let's skip forward
pray
again a little
together,
more.
come and vote for the right people, and speak the truth no matter what the consequences. And
No, Benny, I'm not talking as if they can hear me. I am talking in response to it. I'm giving my response to what they're saying for the benefit of the people watching. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not under any illusion under thinking that they're going to hear me. There's no illusion there that I think that they can actually hear me. I mean, Jeff can hear me when I actually call his show, but no, I don't think that they can hear me. Don't be ridiculous, Benny.
you know, they want to give consequences out to people speaking the truth now, which is so ridiculous. I reported last week on my podcast about this woman who works for the Virginia Attorney General's office, and she posted on Twitter some support for the January 6ers, calling us patriots, and she was recently fired from her job. And then we got the Washington Commanders defensive coordinator who spoke out and said January 6th was a little brush up at the Capitol, nothing compared to the summer of terror.
And let me pause a second, because yes, Kevin has it absolutely 100% right when he says, Benny, he's doing what Hal does. He's talking like, yeah, right. Exactly. That's what I'm doing. And most, if not all, of the people here, and I do it sometimes a little bit differently than Hal does. I mean, sometimes I'll do a video, but this is just audio. And when Hal does it, nobody bitches and moans and complains. But when I do it, some people have a problem with it. So look, if you don't like what I'm doing, leave. Simple as that. Benny, I'm literally talking to you specifically. If you don't want to be here, you can go. I mean, I've appreciated your support in the past, but I've also not appreciated the crap sometimes you do when you complain about the crap. If you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to say anything about it. You can just step out the chat and step off the video and go watch something else. There's tons of things that you can watch. I've tried to support you, and I've tried to support the 21st century suffragettes, and I've tried to say, hey, this is another good show. I helped y'all out with, you know, being able to take phone calls or whatever, using my technical expertise to try and help y'all do whatever you do, put y'all up as a link to, as friends of the show. But if you don't like what I'm doing, take a step away. You don't have to sit here and bemoan and berate and complain about every single thing that you don't like that I do while I'm live on the air. I wouldn't do that to you. All right? I would not do that to you or Diane. I would not come to your channel and complain about anything that you're doing that I disagree with or I don't like. If I wasn't interested in what you were saying, if I didn't like what you were saying, I'd just stop watching the video. You don't like it? You're free to go. But I'm tired of people coming into the show and complaining about how I run the show, especially when they complain about the things that I'm doing, then they don't complain when other people do them. It's disruptive to the show, and I'm sick of it. Yes, Nick, rant number 1, Fat Man Rant. Making an observation. Well, you know what? You can keep your observations to yourself if they're going to come in that form. If you're going to treat me like I'm a freaking idiot. If you're going to treat me like I'm an idiot that I don't know that they're not hearing me, yeah, just go away if that's how you're going to act. Again, I wouldn't come on your show and make such an observation of you and Diane. I want every single left-leaning podcast out there to be successful because we need all hands on deck. What we don't need is infighting. What we don't need is people coming on and berating crap that we do. Thank you for the 10, but still, it pisses me off. And a lot of times I hold it in. One time I ended a show early because y'all were complaining that I was talking to somebody on the phone too long, which is no different than how watching a video and responding to shitty conservative videos. But, you know, whatever. Let's continue.
There are the 574 riots in the name of BLM and Antifa.
Yes, I get, Kevin, we're all mad at Donald Trump, but we can't sit here and turn on each other. But I've allowed things just to go for a while, and I'm done. I'm done with that. I don't want to hear it. If you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't like what I'm doing, you can just step away. Simple as that. I'm going to run the show how I run my show. I understand that not everything I talk about and not everything that I do will be interesting to everybody 100% of the time. I can only do the genuine podcast that I feel like doing, bringing the content that I think, there might be similarities to what other people do. I think I bring a little bit of uniqueness to it in the way that I handle things, and I think that shows in how we've grown over the years. But, again, this sort of thing drives me nuts. Well, it felt like a complaint to me, Benny. That's all I'm saying. Or it felt like a whatever. You didn't like it. Whatever. Whatever you did, however you did it, and how I took it, you're seeing how I'm taking it. So maybe rethink how you word things. Because you've seen the effect that it currently has. Anyway, let's get back to the topic.
Social justice or whatever they were destroying our cities over. And if you speak out against the truth, there's so much consequences nowadays. So we need to have the boldness and the strength.
There's no consequences. You're hardly getting consequences right now. And if you get frickin' pardoned, if Jake Lang gets pardoned, he's not going to see consequences.
It comes from God to speak the truth, because in these times that we're living in, it's not a safe job to be a truth speaker.
No, it's not, and that's what I think is scaring a lot of us about the United States of America, that this seems to be disintegrating so quickly, and we seem to be really...
Y'all did it. It's the conservatives complaining about their own actions. This is just like the people in in the unraveling toxic masculinity things that I do that will be coming back at some point, probably after the inauguration. When... all the stuff leading up to the inauguration is going to probably keep me busy with whatever, but we'll go back to doing some of those unraveling toxic masculinity videos as well. But part of those videos is simply that we just show how these men, these guys, these people will complain and complain and complain about the things that are happening, but in reality, what they're complaining about was their own doing. They did it themselves. They're causing this act. It's like they complain about how women control the market, a sexual marketplace, or whatever they want to call it. Why do women control it? Because these guys just throw themselves at any women that could possibly would possibly have them, in the hopes that 1 out of 100 will say yes. So if you're the one supplying it, then they're going to be the ones that say yay or nay. As I've said in previous shows, if they didn't act like such sluts and try and put out to everybody that they possibly could, and there was less supply in the market, then perhaps they might demand it more, and they might be able to have a little bit of equal say in the, quote, sexual marketplace. With this, they're complaining about the deterioration of this country. The deterioration of this country comes from conservatism. Conservatives will complain and decry how government doesn't work. Government doesn't work. Government is, Ronald Reagan, the worst thing someone says or whatever is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Like, they complain about government all the live long day and how terrible it is, and then they get elected to it to prove just how bad government is. Again, it's all about effing around and finding out. They think that government's terrible, and then they prove how terrible government is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's continue.
Mimicking failed countries, failed regimes from all over the world that we used to mock. and call them banana republics and say that would never happen here, where you would be empowered and you would use the forces of government to go after your opponent, like send government agents into the house to raid the house of your primary opponent, in the early in the morning when he's not there, and 30 agents rummage through the house for 10 hours. And
this is one of the logical fallacies, again, of the conservatives. The idea that just because somebody is a political opponent, they can't be raided by the police. Like, is that just the solution to everything? Can I go say, oh, Governor Landry is running for re-election. I'm going to go rob Governor Landry's house, hypothetically speaking. I'm not really going to do it, but let's say I went and decided I wanted to go rob Governor Landry's house. And then I put in my application to run for governor. And then if the police come to my door and try and investigate me for going after Governor Landry's house and robbing him or whatever, is a response, oh, the government is just going after me because I'm Governor Landry's opponent. No, it's stupid. It's a stupid thing, and they're stupid people for suggesting that people should be shielded from criminal prosecution simply because they ran for office.
Take boxes and boxes of material, including attorney-client privilege material, and keep his attorneys away. And
attorney-client privilege goes out the frickin' door if your attorney helps you commit a crime. Sorry, but it's true. And he literally used his attorneys to help him commit the crimes that he was alleged with when it comes to the document case, because his attorneys told the people, told the grand jury, this is everything we got. And it wasn't everything they got, and they knew it wasn't everything they got. So they helped Donald Trump facilitate a crime. Of course, they had Judge Cannon, who, bent over backwards and forwards for her person who appointed her to the office in the first place. And there you go. I guess the problem should be, I guess the Senate should have not confirmed her because she clearly wasn't qualified at all to have this position. But I guess it's just one that slipped through the cracks, I guess. I don't know. Let's continue.
Go through his wife's closet and then claim that everything...
Who cares if he went through his wife's closet? Like, it's so absurd. Like, who cares if they went through his wife's closet? Because, what, if you can't go... If all of a sudden, let's say I stole stuff from Governor Landry's house, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, well, they're going to come after me. Well, I might as well put the stuff in my wife's closet because it's going to be safe from the police there. No, dummy. Bunch of fucking idiots.
Everything they did was above board, and that he was somehow a danger because he had national security, classified documents when
he did, and he read them to people who didn't have clearance to hear them.
He was the president of the United States and could declassify anything.
He could have declassified anything, but he didn't. And he admitted to it in the Bedminster tapes when he said, I could have classified this, but I did not. They're so stupid. This is what is enraging the most about, just from a political standpoint, not from their views standpoint, not from the effects that Donald Trump as president is going to have on oppressed cultures, on minorities, marginalized people, women's rights. Clearly those are all things that are going to be horrific and terrible. But just on a sheer political level, it pisses me off that these people are so stupid and make such bad arguments, yet they're able to win these goddamn elections. And why? Well, Donald Trump told us after the 2016 Nevada primary, he says he loves the poorly educated. And that's why he loves the poorly educated, because he can dupe them. And you have two poorly educated people talking to themselves right here. Exactly, Mike. Idiocracy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. That to me is
and that pot calling the kettle black.
Another just unprecedented, un-American, unconstitutional action that we cannot just brush it off and say, oh, it's just Joe Biden going
I mean, Taylor Swift would say shake it off, but, her tour's over.
too far. I mean, this is beyond anything we've seen in American history. So we're trying, Jake, to do what we can with our audience, with the people that we connect with, to mobilize and get people energized.
Mobilize. How are they going to mobilize? We'll go over that in a few minutes.
About this upcoming election. Don't let the media downplay the chances. Don't let the media depress everyone. Stay enthused, stay motivated.
And take the good that they have in their heart and try to win them over to conservative values because,
You can't have good in your heart and be won over now to conservative values. I'm sorry. Those don't go hand in hand. Conservative values are not good. So therefore, if you have a good heart, you can't be wooed over to the conservative side. I mean, I'm willing to admit that maybe there are some conservatives who have been duped, who are already conservatives, but if you're not a conservative now and you allow yourselves to be drug over to the conservative side, no. You either don't have a good heart or you're a fucking idiot.
Conservative in your moral approach on the world is a good thing. There are certain liberal things that are...
Yeah, exactly, Dean. Stealing national security documents, not constitutional. And look, yes, there are other people like Pence, like Biden, who did have classified documents in their possession as well. But the difference between Pence and Biden and Trump is that Pence and Biden, when asked for their material, said, "Oh, we're sorry," and they gave it back. Trump said, "Oh, well, here's some of it. I'm keeping the other ones. F you." That's obstruction of justice. Yes, Steve, he is, I don't know if he's even calling in from a prison. I think he's recording this in prison and releasing it. Maybe in the computer lab, I don't know. He has called into Jeff's show from prison, and it's just, again, I don't, like, of all of the people that Jeff Carrere could pick to be the standard bearer of, let's feel sorry for the J6, rioters, insurrectionists or whatever, or as they call political prisoners, of all the people he could get behind, he is getting behind one of the worst ones, in my opinion.
Are good, but there are many conservative issues that are, are morally, we have the moral high ground on so many issues, and we're trying to win them over to the light, not to control them or to browbeat them
Right.
or to say that they're wrong. We're just trying to expose them. I mean, there are many. What is that one famous quote? Like, if you're not a liberal in your 20s, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative in your 40s, you don't have a mind, or something like that.
Well, that is the saying, somewhat. When you're younger, if you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. If you're older and you're not a conservative, you don't have a mind. Actually, in my mind, it would be like this. If you're not a liberal in your 20s, you don't have a heart. And then if you don't keep moving to the left, you don't have a brain. Because you need to keep moving to the left because you've learned how, certain things like, trickle-down economics does not work. If you allowed yourself to be fooled into trickle-down economics being a thing that's a good idea and something that works, you don't have a brain. It's like the scarecrow. Sorry.
Right? You don't have a brain, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think that was Winston Churchill said that, right?
Yeah, it's a maturing process, and I went through the maturing process, and because
that's what we saw was not mature. But let's continue.
Touched my heart, and I have a different understanding now of my worldview. And
there are times I can learn from somebody on the left, and we've got to have the strength and the courage to be able to do that. So we've got to allow. I don't want to suppress. I don't want to censor. I don't want to tell anyone, hey, Democrat, you're not welcome. I want to allow people to come into the marketplace of ideas, make their point, and let the better arguments win. Let the better principles.
The better arguments can only win if you don't give undue weight to one side like the Electoral College does with conservatives.
And policies win the day. And as a conservative, I mean, I'm confident.
And when the liberal argument did win the day and Joe Biden won, you said, oh, the election's stolen. So no, another example of conservative hypocrisy.
That our policies are the best, but there are times I can learn from somebody on the left, and we've got to have the strength and the courage to be able to do that. So we've got to allow other voices to be heard, even those that we don't agree with. But I think that's what America's all about. That's why we have the First Amendment. We're supposed to be recognizing and celebrating our differences, celebrating our free speech rights. And we're in the process of trampling our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights.
Well, you don't have certain things that you claim are First Amendment rights are not First Amendment rights. You know, they like to believe that you're allowed to do certain things when you're not. Like, it's not a First Amendment right to be able to go knock down barricades and break open doors and windows. That's not an expression of your First Amendment rights. But hey,
and
what do I know?
By seeing what's happened to Donald Trump and others, our Fourth Amendment rights, they're going down.
Yada, yada, yada. Let's fast forward some more. Let's skip ahead.
So they're not our enemies. They just have different points of view, and on many issues, they're just wrong. So I think they've got to speak out and show why we love this country and why we want to.
They don't love this country. The country that they love is the Confederacy. The Confederacy of the Confederate States of America is the country that they love, that they want to go back to. They are Confederate patriots. They're just mad that the Confederacy went away, and so they're forced to live in the good old USA. And yes, exactly, Bicycle Mike. One of their things that they don't get is that when somebody censors them on social media, guess what? That is not a violation of your First Amendment rights, because the First Amendment rights protects you from government intrusion in your First Amendment right, in your ability to have free speech. It would be a violation of my free speech if I was required to air everybody else's opinion on my show. I'm not required to do so. I can hang up on anybody at any time. I can block anybody at any time. I can mute anybody and delete their comments at any time as well. And that is not a violation of their First Amendment rights, because they have the same right to create some sort of online presence and speak whatever they want to speak about, as long as they're not, doing unprotected speech, like, calling for, a rebellion or whatever, or an insurrection, or, encouraging people to riot. But yeah, they have, there's many episodes of this show. He had Mike Lindell on. He had, let's see, whoever Mark Fisher is, Enrique Tarrio, Joe Biggs, General Michael Flynn, Dinesh D'Souza was on the show. I'm surprised Jeff Crouere got on before Dinesh D'Souza. You'd think, or maybe he just needed to get Jeff first to be able to get Dinesh to come on as well. The last one was March 19th, 2024. So I don't know if he just lost his access to doing podcasts at this point. But it looked like he was doing one maybe once a month. Yeah, it looks like he was able to do one maybe once a month-ish for a while. Although it looks like he maybe skipped some in... it looks like he did a couple ones in multiple ones in 1 month in 2023. But he only did 3 this past year. 1 in January, 1 in February, 1 in March. So anyway. That is, again, he has a political podcast called Political Prisoner Podcast, called by Jake Lang. And again, that's the most bizarre thing about it is the fact that he's not a political prisoner. He can't be a political prisoner. Absolutely cannot be a political prisoner if, hold on, let's pull out the right thing first. Let's go to this one first before we go to the other one. So initially he wanted to be released from prison, I guess, or released from jail. According to the Courthouse News Service, rioter who hit police with baseball bat loses bid for jail release. Edward Jacob Lang's attorneys argue that they haven't been able to communicate effectively with their client during the 9 months he's been in jail, making it an impossible amount of events. Yet he's doing a podcast. What? Despite the man's claims of abuse in jail and other issues, federal judge refused Monday to order the release of a 26-year-old who fought police over 2 hours during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. According to video evidence, some of which the upstate New York person filmed himself, Edward Jacob Lang hit officers with aluminum baseball bat and protective shields and kicked an officer that was on the ground. Lang has been charged with 13 counts, including several felonies. His attorneys say the defendant was a source of help that day to people who were being trampled by the police officers. No, people being trampled by the fact that you had an insurrectionist riot coming down on them and the police needed to defend the Capitol against the insurrectionists. At the hearing Monday, Lang told U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols that he was locked in his cell for 23 hours a day during the first few months during his arrest. Lang says he's been physically and mentally abused by guards during the ongoing solitary confinement. Was it solitary confinement or is he getting abused? His rations have been cut in half. He hasn't been able to exercise his right to worship. Why can't you exercise your right to worship? If you're alone in your jail cell for 23 hours a day, guess what? You can pray all the live long day. There is absolutely nothing preventing you from worshiping to whoever it is you wish to worship. Not one bit. So that's just silly right there, amongst other things. Lang's attorneys argued that it's extremely difficult for him to communicate with each other. When his attorneys visit, Lang talks to them through plexiglass. Everyone on Lang's side can hear what he says. Lang has also refused to get the vaccine, to vaccinate. This is a terrible article. We're gonna go back for this one because they just have a lot. I mean, did they not have an editor or a spell checker here to be able to actually understand these things and to actually be able to communicate things properly? Who knows? But let's see. What is the other one? I think it was from the New York Post. So maybe that's why I didn't open it. But hold on, Jake Lang, delay. There we go. November 21st, 2024 is the date of this article. Let's get this open. He can pray to the upright male organ. I don't want to know what he does in his spare time. If he does in his spare time self-pleasure or pleasuring God or pleasuring himself with the invisible hand of the economy. Whatever he's doing, I don't want to, it's none of my business. But New York man who spent 4 years in jail on Capitol riot charges gets delay as he angles for Trump pardon. So he's trying for a Trump pardon. New York man who spent 4 years behind bars and federal charges tied to January 6th got his trial pushed back Tuesday after arguing President-elect Donald Trump could pardon him when he takes office. Jake Langs, who's longest-serving January 6th defendant, awaiting trial after he allegedly swung a baseball bat at law enforcement outside the Capitol during the rampage, notched a legal win when the judge delayed his trial over objections by federal prosecutors. Lang, helping to represent himself, claimed in legal papers that Trump's win over Vice President Kamala Harris indicated a seismic shift in federal policy regarding January 6th defendants. The Sullivan County local added there's a high likelihood of a presidential pardon or dismissal of the charges by the incoming administration, according to the legal papers. So, yeah, he thinks that he's going to get pardoned by Donald. He may very well get pardoned by Donald Trump. Absolutely. He may get that pardon. AOL, New York man who spent 4 years in jail, Capitol riot. Oh, this is just another thing from New York Post. Same article, just different coverage on there. There's the podcast thing again. But what, above and beyond the fact that he committed acts of terrorism, that he is accused of committing acts of terrorism on January 6th, 4 years ago, ignoring those terrorist activities that took part. Here's a good example. Here's a really good picture of Mr. Jake Lang. There he is right there. Do you remember that jacket he was wearing with that weird zipper right there? Yes, that is him with a gas mask on, holding a police shield, holding a baseball bat, approaching police officers at the building. Now, no one would have to be trampled if they weren't trying to go and enter the building unlawfully, if they weren't trying to force their way into the building unlawfully, but, you know, they have a bizarre sense of facts and everything of the like. But ignoring all that, let's go look at this one. A January 6th rioter is leading an armed national militia from prison. As the U.S. election approaches, Edward Jake Lang says that the militia will focus on potential civil unrest around the vote and will be ready to activate at a moment's notice. Years after being accused of swinging a baseball bat at police officers during the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, Edward Jake Lang is now using encrypted messaging channels to create a nationwide network of armed militias in all 50 states. Again, Newsweek article, Capitol rioter starts militia from inside prison. Edward Jake Lang, who has been in jail for 40 months, awaiting trial on multiple counts, is taken up to social media to organize a militia. Lang, who is well-known internet personality and self-described January 6th political prisoner, was arrested 10 days after the riot and pled not guilty to all 11 criminal counts. He has mainly been held in the nation's capital, but in March was transferred to a detention center in Brooklyn. He is scheduled to stand trial in September, which again he got pushed back. While in prison, Lang has taken to social media to organize like-minded supporters, most of whom promote conspiracy theories that the 2020 election was stolen and that Donald Trump won, despite no evidence of widespread voter fraud. In early June, Lang posted on Twitter a call to join a new national constitutional militia, the North American Patriot and Liberty Militia, or NAPALM. Well, hey, you know what? I will give Jake Lang credit for this. Remember when I was talking about the names of bills and how, you know, sometimes people are not creative and sometimes they like to get too cute and too creative? I'll give him that. His attempt to create an internal terrorist organization at least has a cute name. Napalm. I mean, that's what you would use to burn something down, right? The group's mission reads, we the people, to uphold the Constitution, will protect America from any enemy, foreign or domestic. Hello, you, anybody who participated in the violence on January 6, 2021, is an enemy to the American people and to the America as a whole. Maybe named My Palm. Yes, Dean. That's what he probably has been using for the last 40 months. His palm, at least. Definitely not mine. That's for darn sure. We'll have to load up his Twitter account in a second just to see what other BS he has on there. Again, National Constitutional Militia. Jake Lang, Ann Vandersteel, Pete Santilli. Ooh, Jeff Cruer is part of Napalm? Oh, Lord. Silk, Stu Peters, Maureen Steele, and Coy Griffin? Is that his name? And look, there's like a nuclear bomb right there. Looks like a nuclear explosion right in front of the American flag. And that's patriotic? That's some BS. Since then, Napalm has started 50 state-specific militia Telegram channels, a popular messaging app. According to Wired, Lang claims the group's Telegram chats have over 20,000 members. However, this number has been disputed by experts who reviewed the channels, with some having fewer than 200 participants. The group, chaired by Lang, features QAnon promoter Ann Vandersteel as vice chair, Coy Griffin, leader of the Cowboys for Trump, and a former New Mexico County Commissioner, and Stu Peters, whom the Anti-Defamation League describes as an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist. Regarding the militia's origin of formation, Lang told Wired, there is a tyrannical wave that has hit America that we've never seen before, and so it's time that the people get organized in case they escalate to something that basically puts our very lives in danger. He's putting his own life in danger by forming a national militia. I can't believe that he's allowed to do this kind of crap from prison, from jail. How the hell are you allowed in jail to coordinate a national militia? An armed militia. And he claims that there are two systems of justice. He's on the good side of good. I mean, we're going to pander to you and cater to you and baby you and let you do whatever it is you want to do in jail because we don't want to be too mean to you because then the other militia members might get upset. Meanwhile, black people rot in jail with no access to the internet with no ability to form any sort of group, let alone a frickin' militia. See, Amy Cooter, really, last name's Cooter, director of the Center of Terrorism, Extreme and Counterterrorism out of Middlebury College, told Newsweek in an email, "We think that Napalm, like many militias, is claiming larger membership base than it truly have. However, regardless of their size, Napalm's emergence is further confirmation that some Americans have not moved on from the fiction of a stolen election, blah, blah, blah. Napalm's creation comes when many Republicans have not confirmed whether they'll accept the 2024 election results. Well, of course they will now, because Donald Trump won, even though he shouldn't have, because he shouldn't be qualified or eligible." In her email statement, Cooter added, "Most militias who identify as constitutionalists typically try to follow the law and reject members with criminal convictions. Many of them were quite upset about January 6th and what it meant to the country. In this case, Napalm is one of several groups using constitutionalists to falsely assert the legality of their actions, both past and potentially future. The group's name was similarly chosen to be appealing, titillating even to those who want to envision themselves as warrior patriots willing to put their own safety on the line for what they believe to be the, quote, good of the country." Cooter warned identifying which, if any, members of online communities will convert their feelings into action is difficult, but it's important to be aware of potential violence from groups like this, while also not assigning them undue agency and power. Jonathan Lewis, a researcher from George Washington University program on extremism, told Newsweek, "This militia, much like other anti-government groups like the Oath Keepers, twist the Constitution in an attempt to suit their anti-democratic goals. It's crucial to make clear this is barely a coherent group." Yada, yada, yada. Travis McAdam, senior research analyst on the intelligence project at Southern Poverty Law Center, said the militia's leaders are not people who engage our democratic processes for change. Instead, they prefer democracy at the end of a barrel. In its bylaws, the organization cites the Second Amendment as granting it the power to assemble and the right to bear arms. It claims membership is open to all, quote, lawful citizens, end quote, who are, quote, committed to the defense of liberty. Napalm says this may require regular training exercises to ensure members are proficient in use of firearms, tactics, and other necessary skills for the defense of liberty. How is Mr. Lang going to go to those things if he keeps delaying his trial and as such can't leave jail? Or did they allow him to do that too? Napalm may be trying to fill the void left at the national level by the decimation of groups like Oath Keepers. Additionally, many Napalm leaders bring with them existing extremist connections, including hard right militia or media figures, white nationalists, and sovereign citizens. Unfortunately, this opens a wide net of potential recruits. Yada, 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 yada. So, yes. So not only is Jake Lang somebody who committed acts of terrorism as alleged in the document by, trying to stop a political process, swinging a bat and shield, taking the shield from the police officer, then swinging that shield and bat at police officers, etc. So not only is he a domestic terrorist doing all of this crap, he is also somebody who's trying to form a militia from fricking prison. From fricking prison. Yes, the last name is Cooter. Let's see. When's the last time he tweeted? He tweeted 4 hours ago. Jake Lang tweeted 4 hours ago. 4 years after January 6, 2021, here I sit, confined inside the Washington jail gulag, 1,450 days without a trial as Biden political hostage. This person literally requested a trial extension and is complaining about him sitting in prison, sitting in jail. And he thinks in 14 days he's going to be pardoned. I sure hope he's not. I'm going to sit here, and if it comes out that there's a list of pardons and Jake Lang is not in there, I'll be sitting there eating my popcorn, laughing hysterically at his treasonous ass. But I have no reason to think that Donald Trump is not going to pardon him. The only reason Donald Trump wouldn't bother to pardon him is he doesn't need these people anymore. He doesn't need that issue anymore. He's now going to be taking office. He is going to lie to Chief Justice Roberts in 14 days. He's going to become dictator on day one. He'll do all the other stuff that he wanted to do, but I don't believe that he's going to pardon anybody that doesn't help him out in the future. He might be like, I'll get to it another day, and then completely forget about it while doing other things. And then they'll cry and complain and moan, and it'll be the find out phase for them. And they'll be like, well, why did we ever stand up for you in the first place? And he's like, well, I don't care. Just do it. You rot in jail. I don't need you anymore. Because if somebody stops being needed by Donald Trump, if somebody's no longer helpful to Donald Trump is not going to stick his neck out for him at all. So should we make t-shirts, make jail again, or, make prison again? Like, you're sitting here tweeting from your so-called gulag. I'm almost tempted to just quote that. And he's engaged? Oh, Jesus, this ought to be amazing. He's freaking engaged. Rach Lynn XO. J6 domestic terrorist is what she says on her profile. At least she's honest about it. She finally got a hold of some pictures of my quote of my raid. Oh, look, she's reposting Nick Fuentes. What a lovely character this person is. Trump needs to pardon every single January 6th protester, all of them, and I don't want to hear about violent offenders when police were the ones murdering the protesters. Nope, sorry, you're wrong. You're an idiot. But we all know that Nick Fuentes is an idiot and a Nazi and somebody who said, your body, my choice, and then whined and moaned like a little bitch when, guess what, somebody came to his house and basically told him to find out. But here we go. If Trump doesn't pardon them all, then he's a total fraud. That's what I'm waiting for. I'd have no faith that he will not do it, but if he does go on a case-by-case basis and leave some people out, especially Jake Lang, I'm going to sit here and just eat popcorn. I'm going to have a field day with it. Yeah, exactly, Steve. He didn't pardon anyone 4 years ago. It'll be such a pearl clutch when he does it again. Yeah, that's the thing. Why didn't he, over the course of, he had 14 days as president to pardon those protesters, as they call themselves, those patriots, those American heroes. He had 14 days to write up a pardon that says anybody who participated in the so-called January 6th insurrection, or however they would want to name it in a legalese way, is now hereby pardoned. If you attended this rally, you are pardoned. If you entered the Capitol building, you're pardoned. If you attacked a police officer, you're pardoned. Why didn't he do that? Because it wasn't worth the political risk. Because he wanted to be elected again in 4 years, and as such, he's gonna. But if Trump doesn't pardon them all, he's a total fraud. I'm just waiting for that popcorn to pop and enjoy the nice warmness of the kernels and the salt of the tears coming from their eyes. Can't wait for that. See, what is this? Investigate J6. They already investigated J6. Then they determined that Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist. President Trump's January 6th protesters have endured the most extreme violations of our civil rights in recent history. The injustice must be corrected on January 20th with dismissal of all of the rogue D.C. U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves' J6 charges and full pardons to nullify his convictions. Blah, blah, blah. So here's a nice 2-page letter of a bunch of BS. What else has Mr. Jake Lang said before we move on from this? January 6th pardon press conference. How long is that? 7 hours and 52 minutes? Are you kidding? This thing is 7 hours and 52 minutes? I'm not going to sit. Who would sit here and
How could
watch?
you know all of the names?
We're not going to play the whole thing. We're not going to play any bit of it. Mostly diplomatic. Special guest Jake Lang. Okay. A little snow didn't stop George Washington's barefoot patriot winter soldiers, and it won't stop us. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're kicking off the January 6th pardon press conference live from the Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill at the Hyatt Regency Grand Bellevue. I mean, we? Who is we? You're in jail. I thought you were complaining about being in jail. You're not at a press conference. You're sitting in a jail cell waiting for your trial that you've pushed back. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And look at this group of people. Is it just me, or does that guy look like Hal Sparks from like Earth 2? Like the MAGA version of Hal Sparks, if he grew his hair out, grew out a beard, let himself be gray. Like, I don't, maybe not exactly, but still. Like, this is like MAGA, it's like anti-Hal Sparks. It's like mirror universe Hal Sparks right here. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being silly. I don't know. That's the first thing I thought when I saw the guy's face. Like, definitely less handsome, but still, there's some similarities there that makes me think like he's like the evil Spock or the evil Kirk from whatever. 2025 will be forever known as the year God set free the J6ers. Yeah, whatever, bruh. I mean, I hope it's not true. Look at him and his lovely, I guess, prison gear and his you know, horrible beard and terrible hair. 3 weeks from today, he's walking out of the Democrats' political prison forever. Praise God. Okay, we'll see. We'll see there, Jakey, who made a big mistakey by taking part in effing around, and then we'll be finding it. We'll be finding out in 2 weeks whether or not they are actually going to get pardoned or not. I would love to see it, and that's one of the things we will be looking for. One of the things we will be looking for as we do our live show in the middle of the day on 11 a.m. at here on YouTube on liberaldanradio.com and twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. We will be doing a live show to enable y'all to not have to, you know, watch any of the lies of Donald Trump lying to Chief Justice John Roberts. So instead of that, you can watch us. But we will be keeping an eye on like news alerts and breaking news to see if and when Donald Trump releases a list of people who he's going to pardon. And we will see if he pardons Lang or not. If he pardons Lang, then he's a domestic terrorist. Anyway. Yeah, prove the big lie was not a big lie. Exactly. Well, they can't because it is a big lie. Yeah, way beyond hour 2. Yes. Well, this is the second hour. This is exactly 10 o'clock. We started at 8. It's now at 10. But Liberal Dan Radio, talk from life. That's right. Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central, here at liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Remember to like the videos, share, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share other videos. Share them on your social media feeds. Make sure to get Al Gore more rhythm because we need to help the algorithms out. So there you go. Let's see. What is this? Oh, this is just some racist BS that Elon Musk is posting on Twitter because it shows up in my... I don't know why it shows up in my notifications when Elon Musk makes a post. Maybe he has this button that he could hit, like, post this thing and show it in everybody's notifications because I'm going to force you to read or at least see that I typed something out on my Twitter, my little account that I created. See, Trump don't need them now unless he needs... a militia to try and overthrow the system that keeps him in check. Maybe. I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, who knows with what he will do? Who knows what he will do and how much support he would have, like, for example, in the military. Will the military get behind Donald Trump's dictatorship, or will they actually seek to stand up against him when he gives illegal orders? Who knows? I don't know. We're going to find out. We're all going to find out in 2 weeks, unfortunately. Because we have a stupid country that voted for a stupid person who is also a convicted felon, 34-time convicted felon. He is definitely a man of convictions at this point. Somebody who is found civilly liable for sexual abuse, somebody who has aided and abetted the people who were domestic terrorists, and somebody who should not be eligible for president but yet somehow managed to get elected anyway, and someone who is going to show himself to likely be even more of a traitor by committing acts of treason by pardoning people who committed these crimes in this country. Jeff, I've carried being serious into real life. This sucks. Yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty much it about what I've meant to cover with Mr. Lang himself and his silliness, his shenanigans, etc. We will see. I'm really tempted to quote one of his tweets and be like, hey, how are you in a gulag if you're able to tweet from prison? How are you in a gulag if you've created podcasts from prison? How are you in a gulag if you're able to form a national militia from prison? How are you in a gulag if you're able to coordinate and tweet about and advertise the J6 political prisoner rally while you're in prison? While you're in jail, I should say. Because there's a difference, I guess, between jail and prison. Hey, TV2 Live. Good to see you. Yes, the Gulag Express. Roxanne, I'm glad I never had a Twitter account. Well, I never was able to figure out my Twitter account. Never was able to figure all that crap out. Never was able to get tons of followers. Apparently I still haven't been able to do it on Blue Sky either, because I'm still not up there to what other people are. Maybe I should use it more. I don't know, but we'll see. Whatever. So if you haven't followed me on Blue Sky and you have Blue Sky, head on over. Liberal Dan Radio on Blue Sky. Share it to your friends. Say, this guy needs more subscriptions on YouTube. This guy needs more followers on Blue Sky. So you can see more of his skates, as say some people colloquially say. I don't think that's the legitimate real term for it, but, you know, it's hilarious that people do call it skeets, because that's hilarious. Say Dean Baker, it's the oligarchy who are the real enemies. J6ers don't understand that. Yes, but the oligarchy uses the J6ers to push for their agenda, and the J6ers fall for it. Why? Because Donald Trump said in 2016, after the Nevada primaries, he loves the poorly educated, and this is one of the many reasons why. I think that's about all of it that I want to discuss for the show tonight. So remember, tomorrow night I will be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/nerdydan.com. We'll do that for a little bit. I have some stuff to do with gaming online, and might as well do it and get some more streaming that way. Then we'll be right back here Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central to talk more political stuff, to talk more stuff and about the news of the day, about what's going on in New Orleans with the any more investigation into the terrorist attack on New Year's, and other things that are going on as well. So anyway, it'll be a hard out. I don't know how many people are watching. We have 4 viewers on Twitch, but only Aaron has said hello. But thank you for all those who've been watching on Twitch, even if you've not said nothing. Appreciate you all for watching over there, and the 5 subs over there, the 4 others on top of my free Amazon Prime one. Anyway, but on Twitch will be a hard out. I haven't found or settled on an piece of outro music yet. I need to go find it. But until next time, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.